apparently there's been a ton of mysterious sightings on either U.S. coast in the water. I want to bring in Alejandro Rojas, a UFO expert, to talk a little bit more about what's been going on. It has so many people talking, Alejandro.
Exciting topic.
Oh boy. All right. So I'm seeing here that there is a popular UFO reporting app that you have that records these thousands of sightings. What are we seeing?
Yeah, so we've got this app, take reports, and we're getting hundreds of reports a week. The majority of these reports, I look at the videos and kind of analyze those because I've got a history of experience doing this. The majority are mistaken identity, but there are those that are really we don't know what they are. And we kind of take a stance, or we agree with NASA or the government, that really we need to start collecting data, analyzing this data to figure out what's going on. These cases are really mysterious. So what we've been doing, now that we've got, historically about 300,000 cases in our that you can look at, but we've collected ourselves in the last years over 40,000 reports. So we're trying to group those into collections and then look at some of the characteristics of these different groups. And the latest group we're looking at are underwater UFO, commonly referred to as unidentified submerged objects, or USOs, which is kind of a set of UAPs. And we found some really interesting accounts. We've got a couple interesting videos, one off the coast of Florida, one off of Mexico, and we've got a lot of great, including off the East Coast, and even one closer to you all in Manistee there in
Oh.
Michigan.
Oh my. Okay, so I have to ask you. I remember there was like a congressional hearing on UFOs or UFEs. Did USOs come up in that? I don't remember this term USOs before.
Yeah, it is not as commonly known, but it did come up. In fact, there's a former Admiral, Tim Gallaudet, who addressed this in those hearings. And he did talk about, cases where it's been reported that things move quickly underwater. Referenced an unconfirmed project called Fast Movers, where they're actually kind of a code name they've given these up. I don't know for sure that that's been done. There's been other reports kind of saying that the Navy just collects these reports, they get them, but they don't really pay attention to them, which makes it difficult to then analyze reports. So yeah, it is a thing that does happen, come up in the hearings.
So I'm seeing that U.S. Navy officials warn that this could pose a threat to national security. How so?
Yeah, Tim Gallaudet in particular. So some of these cases get mixed up with like drones. So for instance, there's a couple of cases in 2018 that came out. One from USS Omaha, one from the USS Russell, were mistaken of multiple objects over these boats. So what are those? These guys in the middle of the ocean. What's going on? Why are they happening? Now they've determined those are likely drone systems. But why this is important, because some of this they're alluding to is potentially Chinese technology, where the Chinese are looking at launching drones from submarines. It's obviously an issue. When it comes to objects that are a little more difficult to explain, such as very fast-moving objects under the water, some people that have reported some of these things are, right off the coast of Mexico or in places with a lot of commercial boats and that sort of thing. So, anything running into something or something coming up that's submerged and runs into a private, boat, something like that, that's where they're safety concern. And of course, when it comes to national security, one of the big arguments, especially with drones, right, that we've had a blind eye to them. We really been taking a close look at the advancements of the technologies and the utilization that our enemies may be using to observe. An example is these U.S. boats being caught off guard and these drones flying above them. We need to have some real tactics. We need to be able to deal with that to ensure this of our sailors, so to make sure that the Chinese aren't gathering the intelligence we don't want them to get.
So I see that the states with the most reportings. This is no big surprise. California and Florida. But tell me more about what was discovered close to us.
Yeah, close to you. So there was a report on October 23rd, in October of 2023, in Manistee, and this was someone who says their car kind of broke down by the water, and they looked out in the water and they saw this bright beam of light coming out of the water that they watched for a period of time before it disappeared. So that's highly mysterious. What would be beaming a bright beam light into the sky? They had a video, but can't really tell because really, with our phone, they're made to get pictures of friends and stuff like that. So they're limited in their ability to capture objects at a distance, especially at night. The video didn't really turn out. You can't really make anything out, but an incredible account from this witness.
So how did we go from, I'm sure at some point, you said USOs and people were like, to really being taken seriously?
I think there's a couple of things. So it's been a very interesting subset. Even scientists have been interested because it's a little harder to move underwater. So for instance, we have a report, one of these videos from Mexico where the witnesses say this object went about 5 miles in minutes underwater. That's technology, that we don't have. Like we don't have anything that can move that fast. So that makes that curious and really piques people's interest and scientists as well. So if this is happening and there's these fast things under the water, what is propelling them? How are they doing that? There are technologies with our highly advanced missile systems that can do sort of extremely fast movements. But if that's it, are we observing technology from foreign enemies that they're testing? Or is this something else? That's what gets people really curious. I think what gets people curious now is that we've got this collection. Now, Enigma, we've been collecting these reports. We have more reports to look at because really historically, there haven't been a lot of reports to look at, any data gathered to figure out more about what's going on here. So it's exciting to get more data. I think that's what's important is to keep gathering that data so that researchers can start to figure something out. And I think it's kind of like SETI, for you gather this data and maybe you don't have that smoking gun to say that something truly anomalous is going on, but we've got so much anecdotal information that something weird is happening that it's good to have that data just in case, and if we do get that case where we're able to demonstrably show that something anomalous has happened, obviously really important. And I think the popularity of this story shows that it piques people's interest.
Well, that is true. People's interests have been piqued for sure. Thank you so much for your time and sharing a bit of this mysterious data with us. And thank you for what you do with Enigma. Hopefully, by putting it all together one day, our minds will really fully understand all of this.
That's what I hope. Using scientific method, we can figure this out.
Thanks so much. Take care.
Thank you.